Welcome to Swai Files. I am Swai. There are disappearances that make us shudder due to their strangeness. Ordinary people, on a seemingly ordinary day, suddenly vanish without a trace, leaving behind a series of unanswered questions. Faint clues, strange messages, and eerie silence only make everything more mysterious. What happened to them? Where did they go? And why, despite all efforts to search for them, do they never return? Among them, the disappearance of Chance Engelbert is one of the most haunting mysteries. A young man full of vigor, a seemingly harmless family argument, and then a sudden disappearance in the stormy night. But what really happened that night? And why, after a series of strange clues, does no one know where Chance is? The story of Chance Engelbert's disappearance is not just a simple missing case. It is a dark journey filled with doubts, conflicting information, and desperate search efforts. The Nebraska sky on that summer afternoon seemed perfect for a day of fun, but behind the smiles was an unshakable tension. Chance Engelbert, a 25-year-old man living in Moorcroft, Wyoming, along with his wife Bailey and their young son Banks, spent the Saturday golfing with his in-laws in Gary, Nebraska. The sky was clear, and sunlight spread across the fields, but within Chance, a heavy, dark cloud was quietly approaching. Chance Engelbert, a 25-year-old young man from Moorcroft, Wyoming, had been facing significant challenges in life. After losing his job at a coal mine, he was forced to find a new opportunity to support his family. Hope sparked when he received a job offer from a gas company, a new beginning he believed would help him rebuild his life. However, things did not go as smoothly as he had hoped. That evening, in the cozy house in Gary, Nebraska, the atmosphere became stifling when his in-laws, especially his father-in-law, disapproved of his decision. "You think a job like that is enough to support a family?" His father-in-law's words rang out coldly, like a knife cutting deep into Chance's pride. The criticism and skeptical glances not only left him feeling disappointed, but also pushed him into a dark corner of emotions, where pain and resentment surged. Around 6:30 p.m., the argument erupted. His father-in-law's sharp words seemed to cut down every hope Chance had once nurtured. Every word was like a spark, igniting the flames of anger inside him. Unable to bear it any longer, Chance abruptly stood up from the table, his eyes red and filled with frustration. "I can't sit here for another minute," he sighed, his voice filled with anger and helplessness. His gaze swept across the stunned faces around the table before he opened the door and walked out, leaving behind an atmosphere of suffocation and the bewildered, shocked expressions of his family members. 7 p.m. The air in the room seemed to freeze after Chance's outburst. Emotions roiled inside him like a volcano ready to erupt. He walked straight to the door without looking back. Bailey, his wife, frantically ran after him, trying to calm her husband. She called out to him, her voice trembling with worry. But Chance, with his red, angry eyes, stopped at the door and coldly replied, "Going home." Those two curt words were like a knife cutting through all efforts of reconciliation. No car, no specific plan, but it didn't matter. The only thought in his mind was to leave this place. He wanted to escape the suffocating atmosphere, the criticism, and the cold stares of his father-in-law. All things that made him feel like he was drowning in a never-ending nightmare. Wyoming, his real home, seemed like the only place he could find peace. Although the journey from Gary, Nebraska to Torrington, Wyoming was more than 50 miles, a walk that would take over 12 hours according to Google Maps, Chance had decided he would undertake this impossible task. 7:46 p.m. The Nebraska sky was gradually engulfed by darkness, and the storm began approaching from afar, with lightning slashing across the sky as if heralding something terrible. Bailey, her hand trembling as she held the phone, called her husband with growing anxiety. Her voice was gentle, but filled with unease. "Where are you, Chance?" On the other end, Chance's voice was dry and short. "I'm walking south." Just a brief, emotionless answer, with no explanation. The space between them felt like thousands of miles, even though they were only a few hours' walk apart. Bailey paused, listening to the wind and strange sounds from the other end. Something didn't feel right. She wanted to ask more, to understand what was going through her husband's mind, but before she could speak, the call abruptly ended. The phone went dead, leaving behind a frightening silence. Less than 10 minutes later, something strange happened. Chance's friends received a message from his phone. The content was not what they expected. The message said he was walking north. This contradiction was like a thorn in everyone's mind, an inexplicable oddity. What had caused him to suddenly change direction? Why was there such a confusion? Bailey couldn't shake off the chilling feeling that spread throughout her body. She felt something was wrong, a sense of unease like a ghost clinging to her. But she reassured herself that Chance probably just needed time to calm down. He would come home, everything would be fine. She had no idea that the call at 7:46 p.m. would be the last she'd ever receive from her husband. Darkness fell, and the silence from Chance began to form an impenetrable veil of mystery. What was really happening to him out there? 9:08 p.m. The night sky in Nebraska was eerily quiet. The space seemed to hold its breath, waiting for something. While everyone was still worriedly trying to contact Chance, his phone unexpectedly sent out a message. But what appeared on the screen was not clear text. It was a string of strange emojis and random characters, as if someone was trying to convey a mysterious message that no one could decipher. Chance's mother, Dawn, received news of the message and immediately had a bad feeling. "Chance never used emojis," she exclaimed, her voice trembling with utter fear. This wasn't like him at all. The entire family stood frozen before the phone screen, feeling as if what they were seeing wasn't from their son, but from some strange entity using his name to communicate. A chilling sensation enveloped them. At 9:15 p.m., the distant storm finally arrived. The howling winds echoed across Nebraska, pushing dark clouds to cover the entire sky. The wind blew fiercely as if it wanted to sweep everything away. Rain poured down like torrents, and lightning flashed through the night, tearing the sky apart. The storm not only ravaged nature but also swept through the hearts of those waiting for news from Chance. When the storm was at its fiercest, everyone tried to convince themselves that Chance had found shelter, that he was just temporarily out of contact. But as the long night wore on, the thick darkness enveloped the area, and Chance's phone remained completely silent. All communication was cut off, as if he had vanished into thin air, leaving behind only fear and a sense of helplessness that words couldn't describe. The storm wasn't just about the weather, it was also a symbol of the turmoil in everyone's hearts. With each passing hour, the worry grew and the fear surged like waves crashing against the shore. What had happened to Chance? Was that strange message the last sign from him, or was it a warning of something darker? Sunday morning, July 7th, 2019. The dim light of dawn shone through the window, but Bailey's heart was filled with darkness and worry. She opened her eyes, expecting to see Chance lying next to her, but there was only a cold, empty space. Fear grew within her like an unending nightmare. Anxiety became a storm in her heart as she realized her husband had not returned as promised. Bailey tried to stay calm, calling Chance's friends, hoping someone had heard from him. But each call was met with absolute silence. Neither friends nor family knew anything about Chance's whereabouts. Not a single clue, not a single signal. It was as if everything had been swallowed by the strange darkness of the night. By around 9 a.m., with no other choice, the family decided to call the police and report him missing. The case was quickly deemed serious, and rescue forces were immediately mobilized. From local police to federal agencies, everyone was called upon for this mysterious search. Nebraska State Police helicopters began to circle the skies. scanning vast lands below in the faint hope of spotting any trace, any small sign of Chance. Ground rescue teams worked tirelessly. Canine units were deployed, tracking every scent and every footprint. But all led to dead ends. No signs of life, no signal of any kind. More than 2,400 acres of land around Scottsbluff and the trails around Gary were covered by the search team, from dark hills, fast-flowing rivers, to fields flooded by the storm. Everything became eerily quiet, as if nature itself was hiding something. The rain had washed away all traces, as if trying to erase Chance's presence. The rescue team's footsteps seemed futile, finding only empty hills and deep, dark waters. With every passing minute, the fear grew. Had Chance been swept away by the rushing waters? Or was there something else, something darker surrounding him? A feeling of an invisible, mysterious presence lingered with the searchers, as if Chance's disappearance was not just an accident. Despite all resources being mobilized, from the sky, land, and water, everything remained a blank. The calls of his name echoed into the night, fading into the void, leaving only fear and hopelessness deep in the souls of everyone involved. Chance's disappearance had now become more than just a mystery. It was a haunting that would remain in the hearts of those who loved him. The last image of Chance was captured by a CCTV camera along Terry Boulevard and Stable Club Road around 7:30 p.m. on July 6, 2019. In the blurry footage, he was walking alone, his silhouette faint under the weak streetlights, like a fleeting image of a lost soul. No one knew that this would be the last time anyone saw him. After that moment, he vanished as if he had never existed, a ghost disappearing into the night without a trace. Chance's phone was the only clue left. The last ping was recorded from a cell tower on County Road 19. When the police arrived at the scene, they were met with eerie silence. There were no signs of life, no footprints, no personal items. Everything seemed to have been wiped clean by some invisible force. It was a scene full of mystery and darkness, leaving the search team shuddering. Day after day, despite the search team's best efforts, they only encountered dead ends without answers. Every time they thought they were close to a clue, everything would disappear like mist fading in the sunlight. The lands they searched became strange and bizarre, as if nature was hiding something. Some nights, as the search teams passed through, they felt an odd sensation, as if unseen eyes were watching them from the shadows. Meanwhile, Chance's family and friends could not accept the horrific reality. His mother, Dawn, could not give up hope. Every night, she knelt down in prayer, her trembling hands clutching old photos of her son, her tearful eyes gazing towards a miracle that could bring him home. Her prayers echoed in the quiet night, but only silence answered. Each passing day, her hope dwindled, but the pain remained, like a wound that would never heal. On social media, she wrote pleas, begging anyone with information about Chance to come forward to help her find her beloved son. But every message faded into the endless void, with no replies, no leads. Her tears continued to fall, soaking the photos, with each day bringing a relentless pain as the truth remained buried in the mysterious darkness. The biggest question still loomed. How did Chance disappear? Was there a dark force involved, or was it all just a tragic accident with no explanation? Doubts, theories, and horrifying dreams continued to haunt everyone involved as the investigation sank deeper into the abyss of uncertainty. November 2021. The cold winter winds swept through the empty fields near Malbetta when a local farmer made a discovery no one expected. Half buried in the soft soil was a pale human arm bone. Next to it, a faded shirt. The man immediately alerted the police, and the news quickly spread to the Engelbert family. When the police arrived at the scene, the atmosphere grew heavy and stifling. The Malbetta field, once quiet and empty, now seemed to harbor a dark mystery. The weak sunlight could not dispel the chilling sensation from the horrifying discovery. The soil had been overturned, revealing the torn, weathered shirt, identical to the one Chance had worn the night he disappeared. The Engelbert family was paralyzed with shock upon hearing the news. Every moment of waiting for the DNA results felt like torture, like a knife about to sever the fragile thread of hope. But what deepened their fear even further was another suspicious clue found with the bone and the shirt. Close to where the bone was discovered, the police found a rusted, broken wristwatch. Inside the watch face, a small, almost invisible engraving was discovered. After examination, the words were revealed. "Forever loved." A small message Bailey, Chance's wife, had engraved on the watch she gave him for their wedding anniversary. This watch was undeniable evidence. Even though the DNA results were still pending, the watch made the Engelbert family's hope hang by a thread. The watch's appearance also deepened the unsettling feeling that something was not right. The watch was found in a broken state, as if crushed by a strong force. But why was it here? And why was it 8.5 miles away from the last known location where Chance was seen? Things became even more complicated when another detail emerged during the investigation. About 500 meters from where the bone was found, investigators discovered an abandoned truck hidden deep beneath dense bushes. The license plate was faded and unreadable, but inside the truck was a collection of torn papers, scribbled with strange, incoherent words. One of the torn pieces of paper had a short, cryptic message remaining. "Not him. Taken away." This clue was like a thorn stuck deep in the minds of investigators and the Engelbert family. Who was him? And what did taken away mean? Was this just a coincidence, or were these torn papers directly related to Chance's mysterious disappearance? The bone, the shirt, the broken watch, and the strange papers all pointed to a blurry picture of what had happened. But what was most clear was that the investigation had now taken a new, deeper, and far more terrifying direction. The Engelbert family had no choice but to continue their painful journey, but now they were confronted with a horrifying question. Who, or what, was truly behind Chance Engelbert's disappearance? The clues found in November 2021 took the investigation into Chance Engelbert's disappearance in a new direction. But instead of shedding light on the truth, they only made the story darker and more mysterious. His family, moving from hope to despair, ultimately realized that some truths may forever be hidden in the shadows. After weeks of waiting, the DNA results from the bone and the shirt were finally revealed. They did not belong to Chance Engelbert. But this brought no relief to the family, because an even bigger question remained. If these clues weren't his, then who did they belong to? And why did they appear in a place believed to be connected to Chance's disappearance? The more questions were asked, the fewer answers were found. The watch engraved with "Forever Loved" by Bailey was one of the strangest pieces of the puzzle. Why did it appear at the scene without any other sign of Chance? Had someone intentionally placed it there to mislead the investigation? The abandoned truck with strange torn papers also offered no clear explanation. The search for Chance continued, but it gradually became more of a spiritual journey than a physical one. His mother, Dawn, prayed every night, holding on to the candle of hope in her heart, even as the weight of her pain grew heavier. She believed that whatever had happened, her son was still somewhere, waiting for the truth to be revealed. But the darkness of his disappearance continued to envelop everything. Like an unsolved mystery, Chance Engelbert's disappearance became a story without an ending. It was a question with no answer, a pain that could never be soothed, a whisper in the night that no one could fully hear. Chance had vanished, and with him went all the secrets, clues, and the truth that would never be uncovered. In the end, those left behind could only continue living with the faint hope that one day the truth would find its way into the light. But until then, darkness would still cover the lives of the Engelbert family. and Chance's story would remain one of Nebraska's most haunting mysteries.